Wild Goose is more than a festival, it's an experience. And I use that in a way that is good for experience. I can't say I've ever been around this many people camping in this much mud and dirt and having profound theological and spiritual conversations. Wild Goose is a good time.
Great. Now, for people who don't know, we're in the mountains of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. We're in the Smoky Mountains. As a person at one of the little restaurants said to me this morning when I asked about the internet, she said, yeah, we don't have the internet here. This is life in a mountain town. So we've descended on this little mountain town in North Carolina with 3,500 people, some of whom are living in tents and some of whom are staying in the area, and are having these experiences, conversations, interactions with people. How is it fitting in your experience, in your imagination? Like, does it feel like what you thought when the person at your school mentioned you should think about going to the Wild Goose Festival, or Jeff said, Emilie, would you please come and join us? How is it?
Well, I didn't have an expectation at first until it got closer to the event and things were more up on the internet, and I could look around and see what pictures from the past years and get a better sense. I've been delighted at the sessions I've been able to attend, when I've been leading a workshop, the kinds of conversations that we get to have together. So it's a good place for me to be.
Yeah. Now, you have taken seriously in your professional life, in your academic life, in your personal life, as far as I can tell, people organizing for change in the world to bring about a different imagination and a different way of being in the world for people. Is there anything that you're hearing here that feels like it's deeply rooted, and anything that feels like it's something fresh and new that's happening?
Yeah, I hear more the deeply rooted, but I also hear the frustration, despair, and anger. This has been a wretched week.
Yeah, for those who don't watch this video later and not remember, this was a week in which there were 2 episodes of police killing black men in this country, and then the shooting of police officers in Dallas. And we're in, July of 2016, and you hope this doesn't become a summer that's
worse,
famous, for such difficult things.
And June and July have been violent months lately.
Yeah.
As I went back and looked over what's happened in June and what's happened in July, we are really not good to ourselves in these months.
You mean in other years?
In other years, yeah.
Yeah.
This is not new. It's just, I think it's an accumulation of not again. The horror of 9 folks being massacred in Bible study last year.
Yes.
Minding their business. And then the same week of that first anniversary, the gunning down of 49 people in a gay bar, minding their business. And then we just flow right into this month, and it's too much.
Yeah.
And so what I'm hearing from people, what I'm feeling as well, is if we don't start taking responsibility for stopping this violence, nobody else is going to. Nobody else is going to reach out and say, okay, we've got the fix. Particularly when I read Twitter posts from congressmen saying this is civil war, look out Obama, look out Black Lives Matter. That's not the response that's going to bring us peace in this country. So I get what I hear folks is doing is trying to find a way to make their faith active enough to stop the violence.
Yeah. On that note, just for a bit, a lot of people are suggesting it feels like some non-identical repetition to some other periods and years. A lot of people are talking about 1968 because some of the political environment was similar, and assassinations and shootings and unrest, and other people are making comparisons to 1928 and other periods. Do you feel like we're prepared to deal with some issues that seem to be intractable in this country, or?
I think some of us are.
Yeah.
I think when the church is being its best self, it is.
Yeah.
But fear is driving so much of what we're doing now. And it's not a fear that leads to creative action and change.
Yeah.
It's a fear that is causing us to hunker down and protect and hoard what we've got and assume that anybody we don't know is a danger and a threat. For those of us who refuse to live in that kind of fear, I think we're ready to take some steps. I think this is part of what Wild Goose is all about. Is I've been walking around talking to people and listening to where folks are coming from. That we got to do something, and we've got to do something that is effective and faithful.
Yeah.
And putting those two together, I think, is part of what Wild Goose is trying to help people do. I hung out at the Justice Tent a lot yesterday, and it was heartening to me that no matter the gender or race or age of the speakers there was a common, and none of us talked to each other beforehand, but there was a common understanding that these are the sets of things we need to do to change and shape our world.
Yeah.
So pockets.
Yeah.
Only pockets.
Yeah, it can feel like the responses are so small and slight compared to the struggle and the trauma, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's the everyday that creates change.
Yeah, isn't that true?
The grand events may call our attention,
Yeah.
may push us into definitive emotions of various kinds, but it's those small daily acts.
Yeah.
It's the everydayness of being human that really change things. And that's one of the things I tell my students all the time. You can make a grand statement almost any day.
Right.
But can you live with integrity and faithfulness every day?
Yeah.
That's the hard part, and that's the gospel in life.
And loving neighbor feels like that's hard work some days, and loving your enemy
It's even harder.
is even harder, right? And sometimes we can be so congratulatory of our ability to just recognize a new neighbor and love them, and
Yeah.
still some undone work, isn't there?
There's a lot of undone work, but there's room for us to change and turn it around.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what you do at, you mentioned your school, but it's Vanderbilt
Divinity
School. And in the world that I run around in with progressive evangelicals, Vanderbilt is a very inspiring and important voice. So for people who wouldn't know, because I don't know, they might have known the university or not the Divinity School or something, but he talk just a bit about why you spend your life as the dean at Vanderbilt. And
I believe in what the school stands for. To be honest, even though I grew up in North Carolina, and I knew nothing about Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So when they called and said, "Would you put your name in the hat?" I said, a profanity-laced no. I will not repeat it for the camera.
Yeah. Why was that? What was it? Because you hadn't heard of it, or just the
No.
notion of a university funded by the legacy of a very rich person? Or?
Well, I was teaching at Yale, so does it really
Oh,
matter?
you said that about everywhere. If you were teaching at Yale,
Yeah, I was teaching at Yale, so that is a bigger papa than our papa.
that is great.
But what became clear? Well, I had no idea of the school's long record of progressive theology in a very conservative but moderately so university in a very conservative state. And the sort of folks they had churned out over the years and the stances. And then what really got me was looking at the school's purpose statement that talked a lot about the theological importance of justice and shaping the next generation of folks who are going to be leaders, not just through a spirituality, but a spirituality that's lived.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's interesting. And then I turned to what we call our statement of commitments. And the school has put in writing, and it's up on our webpage, we seek to be anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-classist, anti-homophobic, pro-environment, pro-religious pluralism, and we do those things because they are theological and they are faithful. And I thought, even the most liberal schools I know in the North don't put that in writing about what
great.
they do. So I got to check these people out.
Yeah.
This is a history and a commitment that I can live into because it's so much more me. So my job was to figure out and find out as I was interviewing, are they serious? Is this a document that's just up on the web?
Yeah, right.
Or is it something that people think about and shape their lives around? And I found out, no, we try to live it. So my job is to remind us that this is what we said we want to do, and not let it ossify, but to continue to look at it and breathe new life into it periodically. So,
and different divinity schools think about their graduates in different ways, what they're going to go and do in the world. How does the Vanderbilt Divinity School think about its graduates? What do they go on to do?
a lot of them are local pastors.
Yeah. How many students, what's the size of the divinity?
If you add the PhD program and the Master of Arts program, we get up around 300.
Yeah.
So we're big enough and small enough in many ways. But we always
So pastors,
want more.
are you putting out activists and
We
people
put
that...
out a lot of activists. There's several of them are here or were here doing workshops. Some of our graduates are working in the prisons. Some are working with the Children's Defense Fund.
Mm-hmm.
Some have created their own homeless ministries in the city of Nashville, and have some have moved on and set up shop in other schools and working in those areas. Some are working with folks with addictions of various sorts. And some are founders of Nashville Black Lives Matter, and they keep churning out.
Yeah,
but we've
great.
got chaplains in universities and colleges, in medical centers, hospitals, military chaplains. So we sort of...
Great.
And then they're the few that go on and do PhD work of some sort, or shift completely and will go to law school, or med school, or nursing school, or the School of Education, and combine their theological degree with that other degree, and they're coming up with all sorts of new things. So it's a rowdy bunch.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a real life lesson, isn't it? That like something you didn't know about, and that other people prompted you for, fits you so well.
It does. It does. It's and I had.
That's not just something that happens to somebody in their teens and 20s.
No,
like it happens to
not
us,
at
all of us,
all.
ongoing.
I was well into my 50s when this happened.
Yeah, see that?
And,
Isn't that fun? I mean, sometimes people think that you only get one or two times in your life to be surprised by what other people know is good for you.
Yeah, I think if we remain open, God surprises us all the time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I disliked Yale. I was happy at Yale, but I am now a different kind of fulfilled at Vanderbilt.
Yeah. So one more Wild Goose question for you. You've been here a day and a half, maybe, or so you've had just a little experience with 2 days. Counting every minute of every one of them, right? So you've been here 2 days. Anything that is struck you about what the Wild Goose Festival could be, or what it ought to be? Is there something that is starting to resonate in you or spring up in you about what this could be?
It's too soon for me. I take a while after I've experienced something to sit and think about it before I start popping off ideas.
Yeah.
And there's so much going on at Wild Goose. It's going to take me a while to sort of work through everything I saw, felt, experienced, and then be able to have something credible to say.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your part in making Wild Goose 2016 a great experience.
No, you're welcome.